Live with the community, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development bi-weekly call. Today is October 27th, 2022. Where is the time going? We're almost into November. My name is David Warner. I am with Microsoft, and I will be your host for the day. The agenda for today's call, what are we going to talk about? Well, lots. It's latest updates on the community, PnP.NET libraries, PnP PowerShell. We're going to see the latest on Yo Teams, Microsoft Teams Toolkit, Microsoft Graph Toolkit, so many toolkits, independent publisher connectors with Jocelyn. Then we're going to talk about some samples, script samples, Microsoft Teams samples, Power Platform samples. And then what time will it be? Picture time! We're all going to get our cameras out and snap those pictures of the fantastic members of our community. Then we're going to see our two amazing presenters of the day. Leon Armstrong is going to talk about Microsoft Syntex bulk content assembly. And then we're going to turn it over to Marcus Moeller on Access Teams meeting details in a meeting app. So we are so excited for those demos. Let's begin with opportunities to participate in the community. This is your community, so we want you to feel empowered to participate. Now, there's a number of ways in which you can do that. We would invite you to demo a solution or a technical pattern, just like you're going to see our amazing presenters do today. You are welcome to do that, and we've even made it easy on you. All you need to do is click on that little link or follow that link there to request a demo spot, and we'll get you plugged in. You can show off a sample, a technical pattern, some utilities or scripts that you may have seen or found or created that you find useful. It's going to be helpful for everybody. You can contribute on GitHub, and then usually that leads to you presenting on a call, so it's a natural circle. And you can provide feedback. We want to know what we're doing good. We want to know where we can improve. We just ask you to keep it positive. So we want you to be part of this community and participate in any ways that you would like. What are some of the resources that you can start using within our community? Well, we've got lots of videos. There's developer videos and community videos. We've got a lot of open source programs for SharePoint, Office Dev, Microsoft Graph. And did I mention samples? Yes, we have samples. Samples galore. Plenty of samples, and we would like you to use them and contribute back to them. They are available to you from topics of Teams and SPFX, Power Platform, extensions, list formatting, so many samples for you to use to start getting started, learning. They're great opportunities to start building that education. So don't hesitate to take advantage of them. They're all free. They are available from Microsoft as well as from amazing members of the community like you. Now, there's a lot of links here. You only need to remember one, aka.ms/m365/community will give you access to all of these amazing resources. You may also be wondering, hey, this is a cool call. I like this call. Is there more calls like this? You betcha. Microsoft 365 Platform Call is a weekly call that brings you presenters from directly within the mothership of Microsoft. They are all Microsoft presenters. And so we want you to join that call and take advantage of learning directly from the folks that are making the magic happen in Microsoft. Now, we've also got another collection of community calls, adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins. There is a monthly Power Platform call, and then there are these two bi-weekly sibling calls. The one you're on now, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development, and Viva Connections SharePoint Framework. These are bi-weekly on Thursday at the same time, so you can have a weekly goodness of Microsoft information. You can access all of these at aka.ms/m365/calls. Download the invites. They're all recorded, so you can watch them on demand as well if you're not available to join. So definitely don't hesitate to get involved in joining more of these calls. Speaking of that platform call, we're going to see one next week on the 1st of November, and it is going to be with Hugo Bernier talking to us about Power Pages. DC is going to give us an introduction to new SharePoint Pages and Microsoft Graph API, and then our favorite Waldick is going to show how to find meeting times for multiple people on Microsoft 365. You can access that invite at ak.ms/m365/devcall. Now, you're going to see all these amazing programs and resources, and you're going to wonder, how can I be part of that? There's a lot of scary things like GitHub pull requests or forking, or I don't know how I can present. I've never done it before. Sharing is Caring is a program that we have started and is running and provides you hands-on guidance on how to do a number of these things. So if you've never contributed to GitHub and you're not quite sure how to process that, we are going to actually do that for you and with you. We're going to show you in a safe space setting, live together. We're going to process a pull request and show you how you can do that. And we've been promising new dates, and you got it. We've started putting up new dates. There's a new Power Platform Samples contributor date scheduled, so go sign up. Take advantage of that. We're going to see some new writing for the web, some new SPFX samples with NVM dates as well. So we're excited to get those dates back on the calendar. You can access all of them at aka.ms/sharingiscaring. Now, once you have contributed, we want to recognize you for the amazing work that you're doing. And many of you have seen this, you have benefited by this, and we are so grateful for you and all that you're doing in the community. So we're excited that you continue to reach out to earn these badges. These are badges powered by Credly. They provide you accredited and official ways to show that you're making an impact in the community. You can have them right alongside those certification badges that you get when you get certified by Microsoft. They are powered by the same organization, and it is absolutely free for you to join and opt in. We do need you to opt in, though. You can do that at aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition. And I know we're getting near the end of the month. There's still time, though. Hacktoberfest. Those badges have started going out. Some of our friends in the community have shown them off, and we want you to get one as well. You can only get it this month. So go get those PRs in, and we'll make sure that you get approved. You can, again, opt in at aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition. Let's talk about some project-specific updates. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Bert on PnP.NET libraries.
Thank you, David. For the PnP.NET libraries, I think that the main thing I want to call out is that next week we'll do a new release for PnP Core SDK, Framework, and also PowerShell. So there's a ton of things that have happened since the previous release, so it's about time to get that one out, and now that will happen next week then. Furthermore, we had a couple of changes, improvements happening in Core SDK and Framework done by Heinrich Ulbricht, mainly around the inline images. So if you have a page with an inline image inside the text control, it is a work to make that configurable from external code. And there was another fix around handling special characters and inline image captions when you put them on a page. So all kind of minor improvements. What else? I think usage, although the number of tenants went slightly down, the actual usage went up. So we have 25 billion requests in September using .NET SDKs, which is a ton. The usage number of tenants went down because the provisioning team that built the developer tenants, they also use this. And they did pre-provision like way too many tenants. So now they have like a backlog of tenants ready for developers to pick up. So they ramped down a bit. So that's why it went down here. But as long as the actual usage, the number of calls are going up, it means that there's more and more people using it. That's it. Over to Gautam.
Thanks, Bert, and thanks, David. PnP PowerShell is also going to follow closely the heels of PnP Framework and PnP Core, so we'll also be releasing next week. What is the update for us here? We got 3.4 million downloads. We are also reaching around 100 million command executions per day, which is quite insane. What we added in the past couple of weeks is we added managed identity support. So you have two kinds of managed identity. One is the system identity, and the second is the user-based identity. So we added support for both. We added a new command to retrieve expiring Microsoft 365 groups. We also improved adding. So there is a new image column which has a relatively complex structure, way of storing the images inside the SharePoint list. So we made it a bit more easier to do that using this set PnP image list command. Besides that, we improved a bunch of commands related to recycle bin and added support for Azure AD application listing as well as the Teams listing as well. What next? Updates from, we are trying to support .NET 6 hopefully by the end of this year, so that whenever the .NET Core 3.1 is deprecated, we'll be in a good position to handle the next coming changes as well. So, that's pretty much from my end. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Gautam. And folks, did you see here Bert and Gautam? 100 million, a billion. That is fantastic. So congratulations there. Excellent work. All right, let's turn it over to Stephen on Yo Teams.
Thank you, David. And since our last call, we have not real major updates to share. Build Core v1.8 is out with some minor fixes, some minor typing mistakes, and some stuff fixed on the CodeQL analysis. And as said last time, we switched from master to main, and it's still Hacktoberfest, so we'd like to have you contribute on Yo Teams. So whatever you think might be of interest for Yo Teams to be extended, to be fixed, or whatever, please file your PRs. In terms of what's next, we're still working on docs a lot, and we also have begun the work of our VS Code extension we'd like to introduce for Yo Teams, so you could scaffold and use Yo Teams in VS Code. So we're working on that. And apart from that, we have a lot of things in our backlog for single sign-on, Microsoft Graph Toolkit, meeting apps and stuff. So watch this space. And also, if you'd like to contribute, look out for good first issues or help-wanted issues. We'd like to see you contribute. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. Let's turn it over to Vesa to talk to us about Microsoft Teams Toolkit.
Excellent. So stepping in for John Miller and Microsoft Teams PG here, but we're really well aligned in here. So the latest version of Microsoft Teams Toolkit is 4.1, which was released on the 19th of October. There are, again, new samples available for Teams Toolkit, and we are in progress of getting all of those samples surfaced in a centralized Microsoft 365 sample gallery, making sure that it's the one easiest way to find all of the samples. Now, with that 4.1 version, there's a new workflow bot template, which has a better adaptive car configuration, debugging experience. There's a add SSO command for simple way to configure single sign-on for message extensions and command bot projects. And for SharePoint Framework developers, there's now support for combining two web parts as a multi-tab Teams app directly using the add feature menu, which is really, really cool. For the next versions, there's already a preview version available. And if you find any issues related on Microsoft Teams Toolkit, please do let us know using the github.com/office-dev/teamsfx/issues. So that would be the location where our engineering is waiting for your input if you find something. Thank you. Let's then move to Microsoft Graph Toolkit.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll invite Seb up for that.
So Microsoft Graph Toolkit, we released last week our version 2.6.2, including tons of accessibility enhancements, a couple of really cool fixes, bugs, but also new features on some of our components. We're really excited about this release. We have one coming up next week also, so stay tuned on that. Want to thank the community for the contributions. We're always happy to see the community to come on and add features. Last week it was a single character contribution that actually fixed a really, really big bug. So if you think that your contribution is too small, it's never too small. It's always appreciated. So come to the repo. We're supporting the Hacktoberfest, so would love to have you there. What's next? What we have a new version next week. We are really, really getting close to closing out on our version 3 of MGT, including all the new Fluent UI capabilities to the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. We have a ton of SharePoint framework goodness in there to allow you to have multiple SPFX web parts on the same page utilizing MGT. All of that. So would love to have you to try it out. So you can do an npm install on our @next.fluentui, and you're going to see what V3 will be all about. We need your help. There's a bunch of good first issues in the repo. Would love to have you there. If you want to share samples that you have been using in your apps, we have our MGT samples repo that you can come to and share with us the work that you have been doing to build amazing MGT solutions. So come to our repo. Would love to have you there. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thanks, Seb. All right, let's move on to independent publisher connectors with Joss.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. As always, we have contributions from 3 new IPs, including Artesian Software, David Gajel, and Jeremy Ruri. We are now 67 IP strong. IP since 2 weeks ago as well, including the following from active community member Troy Taylor, Right Sonic, Tree Nation, and Cars XD. We also have a sign online from Victor Alaya, Electricity Mask from Vitaly Sorokin, and an influenza and COVID tracker from Kevin Komba. Aside from these, I am thrilled to announce the 3 winners. Hackathon. We have Orion Aurora with Open Movie Database Connector, Kavshan and Rishev with an Open Trivia Database Connector, and still in the pipeline, but to be certified soon, John Muchiri with a Recipe Connector through the Meal Database. Due to all of these amazing contributors, we are now a total of 189 independent publisher connectors strong. To put that into proportion, the entire connector community and ecosystem across Power Automate, Power Apps, and Azure Logic Apps is 855 total connectors, so that's nearly 1 more per day. These IP connectors make up a quarter of the pie chart, about all due to the power of the community and contributions from devs like you guys. Please reach out to me if you get our repo with connector requests. Thanks, everyone. Handing it over to Script Samples.
Awesome. Thanks, Joss. We'll hand it over to Paul Bullock.
Hey, thank you, David. So if you like writing PowerShell scripts and want to share with the community, by all means, we have an initiative called Script Samples where you can share all sorts of scripts with from the Microsoft Graph, the CLI 365, PnP PowerShell, SPO Management Shell, and all can be shared in the site there, which is super awesome. And these samples are also shown up on the adoption gallery as well, so the Microsoft Sample Solution Gallery, where your samples will be highlighted to other people who may not view this site, which is super cool. So in this repo, we've had a ton of new sample contributions. So thank you very much. So just to call those out, we've got a new one from Arjun Menon with the Azure CLI. So this is deleting all the resources from a resource group. We've got a few from PnP PowerShell. So we've got a sample showing how to add custom form formatting as part of site provisioning by Casper. We've got exports, OneDrive sites by Chandani. We've got export all site pages from Site Pages Library, also from Jan and Danny as well. I've got another sample from Casper, which is a sample on how to locate classic search web parts and remove the duplicate settings. We've also got open Office documents in the client, again from Casper. So thank you, Casper, for all these continued contributions. We've got add and update image and SharePoint image column by Ganesh. For the CLI, we've got some updates to samples to include the CLI tool. So we've got delete orphaned temporary pages from site pages by Reshmi. We've also got an updated scenario with inclusion of SPO management shell. So we've got a couple there. These are add bulk users to SharePoint site groups from CSV from Jan Dani, and also another sample with it, which is export OneDrive sites from, again, Jan Danny as well. So that's super cool. I thank you very much for all of these awesome contributions. Don't forget, if you're registered for the badges, there is a script samples badge. I saw a few go out today, which is super awesome. And thank you again. If you want to contribute to this repository, you're more than welcome to. You want to share some scripts, reach out to me or DM me on Twitter. You're more than welcome. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. All right, let's move along to Microsoft Teams samples with Bob German.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have any new samples today, but you know what? There's still a few days left if you want to get in on Hacktoberfest. And did you know that your Power Platform solution could become a Teams app? Did you know that your web-based solution, you can use Yo Teams, you can use Teams Toolkit, or you can migrate existing applications to Teams? Ping me on here or on Twitter or somewhere if you want a hand, and love to see some more samples. And we're going to see a really great one from Marcus Moeller in a couple of demos a little bit later in this meeting. So back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. I love the question. Did you know? I got an idea, right? Excellent. Very good. Let's turn it over to April Dunham for Power Platform samples.
Thank you, David. So as everyone just said, Hacktoberfest is still going on, so make sure to get your samples submitted in the Power Platform samples repo if you have them. We welcome everything from the Power App side. We have everything from games to integrating with APIs and chatbots and on component samples and everything you can imagine, Power Apps. On that side of things, we have Power Automate samples, Power BI, Power Virtual Agents, anything Power. We welcome your samples in the repo here. Also wanted to make sure everyone knows about our Sharing is Caring session that we just scheduled coming up for November 28th. So if you're not sure exactly how to get started with sharing your Power Platform samples with the rest of the world and what this GitHub thing is and what a pull request is and all that, and you want a little help getting started there, join that session and we'll walk you through all the steps so you can get started submitting your first request. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, April. Yeah, get signed up for that. And coming soon, Power Pages samples. So I know Hugo is getting goosebumps somewhere as we talk about that. Okay, let's get over to the picture time. Turn those cameras on if you want to be showing the community how awesome you are.
Can you stop sharing? Let's wait a few more seconds or 10 seconds. So I get that's not 50 seats yet.
Although we can't see yet. We only see. If you're sharing, it's not sharing for us. But as long as you see it.
Okay. So let me do that. Here we go. So that might have been actually, when you start sharing, it's a wise thing to click the buttons true. So it actually starts sharing. So here we go. Let me click the recording on and let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining once again. Awesome to have you as part of this community. And thank you for being part of this call. This is super valuable for us and your feedback is exactly what we need. So if something works and something doesn't work, please let us know. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
And that's all good.
Thank you, Vesa. Thank you, everyone in the community. All right, let's move over to our presenters for the day. I'm going to invite to the stage Leon Armstrong on Microsoft Syntex bulk content assembly. Leon, take it away.
Thank you, David. Let me just share my screen. Okay.
I have to ask before you start, Leon, you're still in Redmond, right?
I am, yes. So I'm in a hotel, and I hope the Wi-Fi is good today, or otherwise I might be terminating this demo.
You can always reduce the video if needed.
So today I want to demo for Microsoft Syntex bulk content assembly using the Power Automate action to automatically generate lots of documents. A little about me. My name is Leon Armstrong. I'm a Microsoft 365 solutions consultant at Intelligy in London in the United Kingdom. I recently was made an MVP, which was, like such a nice award. I'm looking forward to contributing more, and that was a lovely recognition. You can find details below on how you can connect with me. I blog quite a lot about Syntex and tweet and LinkedIn and GitHub. So today what I want to do is, I want to give an intro to Microsoft Syntex, but I can't cover it in 15 minutes. I couldn't cover it in an hour. Like, there was so many Microsoft Syntex announcements. So Microsoft Syntex, formerly SharePoint Syntex, there was so many announcements at Ignite last week. It's becoming a really compelling product. Then what I'm focusing today on is Microsoft Syntex content assembly, so document generation, creating documents. I'll give you a demo and then give you some steps to find out more. So what is Microsoft Syntex? So the vision for Microsoft Syntex is basically content AI, so using content to view your content, so your documents, your images, and trying to make sense out of them, identify documents, identify the content that's in the documents, and then make that discoverable to your users. So your users are not, say, searching everywhere to try and find a document or that's going to help them with your job. And there is some automation steps as well. So when it is discovered, we can do subsequent actions. That'll be what I touch upon today. So just a brief slide. So it's putting people at the center. So this is the vision with content seamlessly integrated into collaboration. So most storage, so say if you store all your files in SharePoint, that's quite an expensive platform to store in comparison to, I don't know, as your blob storage. So it's, as people are adding, so I think there's some stat like 1.3 billion files a day are added to M365, and that keeps on going every day. It's people's M365 tenants are getting quite full. So we want to turn that content from just a cost that, it's just sitting there as is, to an advantage to make people, get value from it. So what does Syntex do? Microsoft Syntex, there's a lot more vectors to it now. Initially, it started by reading content. So you'd create a model to, say, pick out all the reports in a document library. It would only trigger on a report, for example, but then it would, so once the model has been triggered, you can then train the model to pick out subsequent fields. So say the report title or the date of the report or the author, and then those values are tagged with, say, that report name, the date, the author. So then that's metadata fields attached to the document. So we can do search solutions or to filter by reports by an author, for example, and that model can be spread across all of your content in M365. So you can say find the reports in your M365 tenant, so they might be over many different sites. And then there is extra parts now to Syntex. So there's robust analytics, security, retention. So when a model is applied to a library, you can apply sensitivity, retention labels, and now there is some extra parts of Syntex. So at Ignite, about a week or so ago, there was lots of new announcements. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these individually, but this was the roadmap that was released. So it's not just about, so if you see my mouse now, it's not just about processing documents now. There is content assembly, generating documents. There's a whole new managed tier with backup and archiving of SharePoint sites, and there is a developer story in terms of a data lake, so you can ingest the information from your M365 tenant and do reporting over Exchange, so Outlook, SharePoint. There's a whole lot of things, but that's a separate thing. There's e-signature. But yes, I'm not going to go through them. I'm going to focus on the next thing. So content assembly. So as I mentioned, content assembly is document generation. So you may have used Microsoft Word to generate documents. So you create a template and then you can populate it with, say, address letters to a different person. So it's very useful for standard repetitive business documents, such as generating contracts, statements of work, service agreements. So to set a content assembly template, you can use an existing document. So if you've already got a letter that you often send out to people, you could create a template, a modern template from that, and mark placeholders where like the name is the first line of the address, for example, and generate different letters. You can link the placeholders to a SharePoint list. So you maybe got a list of several people, or you've got a third-party system that's on a workflow or a Power App that's connecting to that SharePoint list to like populate the address fields, for example. Or we can have this manual field, so the user, every time they create a document, they have to specify the name and type it all in. This is content assembly. This is how you would populate a document. So we can see on the right-hand side all the fields, and these are mapping to these green placeholders here. You can create PDF and Word documents. But now in preview, there is a Power Automate action to generate documents using SharePoint Syntex content assembly. So we can see it in action here. So it looks quite familiar if you're used to using, say, the SharePoint add item to SharePoint lists, for example. We select the site address, the document library name, and then which template we want to use. There's some exciting stuff coming on the roadmap for content assembly. So image placeholders in documents. So perhaps you want to create a document, but you need a different logo depending on what's been chosen. There's been some improvements for placeholders and content assembly in tables. There's this roadmap entry has not been closed yet, but you can create PDF documents from templates now. And there's a few more new things that came with content assembly in Ignite. So the ability to, from a SharePoint document library, merge two documents together, or there's the ability to have placeholders. So say if a fee amount in a contract is, say, over £50,000, for example, it requests that a the CEO field is added that, yeah, we need approval from the CEO, for example. Some of the use cases that I've used content assembly for. So today I want to talk about employee checklists. I've used it for creating contracts. So often people will send out the same contract, but like replace the client, the date, for example, or the company. Letters has been a useful one, like sending 500 letters out to different people, statements, reports, and invoices. So I now want to go to my demo. I'll just briefly show you how we would do all this manually. So how we would create an employee checklist manually. So from within the SharePoint document library, so we've not got to say open Word or anything like that. We just do it on a SharePoint document library. We select the modern template that we've created. So here's one I created. We've got the equipment commissioning checklist. We can see that this is quite a complicated form. There's lots of different tables and checklists. So what I'm doing is I'm creating this checklist for the engineer to go to site, and they may have a clipboard and they check off things and add comments about commissioning or checking the status of a piece of equipment. So this template is linked to a SharePoint list. So I'm going to select an existing SharePoint list entry that I created previously. So good old Megan Bowen. So we can see that all these placeholders now have just changed to the values of that SharePoint list. We've got a manual field here, so the date of inspection. So I'm going to specify, I don't know, Halloween. So I can now create this document. I can specify a name, PnP demo, and I can choose whether it's going to be a PDF or a Word document. So I create the Word document, PDF. And we can click into this, and we should be able to see that it's generated the document, and it's got Megan Bowen as the chief inspector, and yeah, filled out all these details. But for the engineer, we want to generate all the jobs that engineer's got to do for the whole day. So we don't want to do that one by one. We want to do bulk generation. So we could have, this is a SharePoint list, which is the data repository for the bulk creation. So this could say link from a CRM system that the CRM system talks to SharePoint and adds the entries for the engineer today. We don't need this SharePoint list as a interim measure. We could just go with, say, Power Automate. We could link straight to the Syntex action here. So I'm just going to add the Syntex action here. So just do a search for Syntex. And if I find my Microsoft Syntex site and select the PnP demo site, and then I select my template, it should auto-populate with all the fields, the placeholders of my template. So I'm not going to, I can fill these in, but I don't want to slow the process down. So that is the Power Automate action for SharePoint Syntex content assembly. So what we could do now is this is a Power Automate flow that gets all of the items from the employee equipment inspection checklist. So this list here. And then we're pre-populating all of those placeholders that we created that are in the model. So we can see the manufacturer, the equipment ID, etc. So if we now test this, we manually start this Power Automate flow. This shouldn't take too long to create. It's a couple of seconds per document. So we can see that it's now, yes, successfully completed for 3 documents. So if we now go to the bulk folder, we can see that a few seconds ago, the equipment checklist for a lampshade, a bed, a laptop has been created. And because it's a workflow, these documents could be emailed to the engineer. They could be sent to a printer, a web-enabled printer, for example. So yeah, all the engineer needs to do is pick out what the printouts, and then they can go to sites. What the equipment checklist also has is places for recommended actions, comments, places for signatures. So what could happen, like this is another part of Syntex, is what could happen is the engineer fills in their site visits for the equipment, puts all their notes in, and then we can have a document library, and then there could be a Syntex model that then picks up, and Syntex can read handwritten text, so it could pick out all the handwritten details, the checkboxes, for example, and save someone having to type in all of those details. And because the data's been extracted, it could perhaps talk back to the CRM or work management system with all the the details of the equipment from the site visit. So yeah, that's bulk content assembly. I'll just return back to my slides and just finish. So I just want to give you a few more steps to find out more about Syntex. If you want to get going with Microsoft Syntex, there is a free Microsoft 365 Syntex assessment tool, where it's a really cool tool. It will assess all of your sites and libraries in your SharePoint environment and give you areas where Syntex could be of benefit. And there is some, it will scan for finding, say, libraries where there are Word documents assigned to, say, the content type, because you create a document from the content type and it comes with a template. So that might be a great example for where you could use content assembly. So you have a set document, and then you can auto generate the values, rather than working on a document template from a content type. There's a SharePoint lookbook. If you want to get started with Syntex, there is a Syntex Content Center template, so you can have a play around with Syntex with that, and you don't need a license to do anything in that site. There's a contracts management template also in the lookbook, so that's an accelerator for Syntex. So that shows you a scenario of receiving contracts, processing contracts, generating contracts. A few more links to find out more about Syntex, and I also blog quite a bit about Syntex. But yes, that's the end of my presentation today. Feel free to reach out if you've got any feedback or need any assistance with content assembly or any Syntex queries. But that's me done. Thanks so much, everyone.
Awesome. Very, very cool stuff, Leon. It really allows us to take that redundant work and automate it in a very efficient way using the whole spectrum of the Microsoft and Power Platform. So thank you. Excellent work. And we'll invite Marcus to the stage to show us how to access Teams meeting details in a meeting app. Marcus, take it away.
Hello from my side. There we are. Yeah, today I want to talk about the Teams meeting app once again, but this time more about the background API to show us something about meeting details, not only meeting details, but also participant details. Short intro about me once again. My name is Markus Möller. I'm a Microsoft 365 developer expert working for Avanade in Germany. Since last year, I'm also a Microsoft MVP for M365 development. And if you want to reach out to me, then you can use Twitter or can comment on one of my blog posts. But as I always like, let's directly jump into demo time. What we first need always when we want to show something about meeting apps, we first need a meeting. What we always need is a participant, otherwise it doesn't work. We send it out. And then we can edit it and install our application. We do not really have to configure something here. So this is out of the box stuff. And what happens here, and now it looks pretty easy. Yeah, simply static tab application and showing some details. Yeah, in an ideal world, we could now be done with everything and I could let you go. But the problem is, this is not an ideal world. Yeah, because something happens under the hood. I will explain that in a minute. But in short, this is no simple, like, from SPFX applications, a simple API call to the backend and showing some details. What you need, in fact, to do this is not only a tab application, but also a bot. Because the API that's used here is included in the bot framework SDK API. And I can show this in an additional demo, which is doing exactly the same here. I decided to use some task modules. So let's open a simple task module here. And now once we click on submit, we get exactly back the same data, but now we have a clear round trip to the bot and back. The same we can do also for the participant, that you also get an idea what's behind the participant here. So for instance, it's quite interesting for the participant. We get, for instance, a meeting role here, or if the user is already present in the meeting. Yeah, that's not the case because the meeting did not even start. And so on and so forth. And here we have got the same round trip with the bot, but I will skip this. But what I can show you, for instance, is the same view with another user, because we have some time that's not that long. Let's simply accept this and open it. Grab the meeting details, and here especially the participant, because here the participant is different. I'm always using the current user as a participant. The thing is, the API always requests a user ID. There's no API in the background to get all the participants from that way. Okay, but nevertheless, this was really small but cool demo. But yeah, the detail, I think, is the problem here. And let's quickly explain how to achieve that. As said, we have some prerequisites, but here it's quite simple. We do not need any developer preview or something like that anymore. So simple meeting, simple participant meeting, and simple specific Teams app manifest. Teams app manifest, the key points are here. We need a scope, that's group chat, as we have a group chat as part of the meeting. And the context here, what I was showing was the pre-meeting experience. So mainly we are here talking about meeting chat tab and meeting details tab, which is not exactly, but quite the same at the moment. On top, at the very bottom, we can see that we need also a bot with the scope group chat as well. And last not least, depending on the type of meeting, on the right side, we need some resource-specific permissions for the bot. So what I was showing here was a simple online meeting. Therefore, we need read basic chat permissions. If you are working with channel permissions, you need with channel meetings, you need the same for channel meeting permissions. Now coming back to the second part of the demo, so the task module flow, which I was showing, Yeah. So not the initial part. The initial part I will explain on the next slide. So once the user presses on the first button, we will start the task module here. Yeah. And to be precise, I'm already working with Teams.js 2.0 version, but the start task is not yet supported. It's not yet transformed to open dialog. For those who already are familiar with that, especially when you work with adaptive cards, what I'm doing here. So once the user presses the button, he gets this initial task module to initialize now bot conversation. Second button click, then will reach the bot in a handle Teams task module submit. And what I'm doing here is the bot framework SDK method, where I get meeting info in that case for a specific meeting ID and the turn context of the bot operation. And this returns my whole data, which I'm transforming to an adaptive card and sending this back to the user. Yeah, this is how the task module flow works. Also interesting is here the switch maybe that I'm using a verb, because I have the same task module submit to use for getting either the participant or getting the meeting details. And in this case, in the sample here, or in this screenshot here, you see how to get the meeting details. Below, you would also find in my sample code how to get the participant details. But that's not all. And how did I achieve it on the very first page? There I was using not the SDK really, but the SDK REST API. And this works the following. In the bot constructor, or below the bot constructor, I'm establishing an event hook on conversation update. And this conversation update, for instance, is fired once the bot and the whole app gets installed into a meeting. What you can see here on the right side when Markus Möller added the bot tab meeting details to the chat. And in that point of time, I'm retrieving a so-called service URL from the bot. And this normally looks currently like that one showing here, SMBA Traffic Manager.NET APIs. I'm always retrieving that. To be honest, I have no idea how stable this is, if I could also hard code it. Yeah, but in another Microsoft sample, which was not really good documented, I found it exactly that way here. So if I'm retrieving it here, then I'm persisting this. And after I have persisted this service URL, I do not need a bot interaction anymore. I can simply call the service URL, as you can see on the bottom right, with an API call. And the only thing what I need here are some Microsoft app credentials. This is a bit cut off here, but what I'm using here is simply the application ID and the application secret from my bot. This is how the initial page, the static tab page, gets loaded. Now you might think, yeah, looks a bit complicated. Do I always need a bot to just get some simple meeting details? The official way is exactly like that. But there is an alternative. I will only quickly show you in bullet points. Yeah. What you always get directly from the context when you have any kind of meeting ID is a meeting app is a meeting ID. This meeting ID is not really the ID of the meeting, but this is an encoded ID of the meeting chat. When we make a graph request against this chat, we get some further information about it. Yeah. For instance, the join web URL of the meeting. And with that web URL, we can also filter some online meeting details and so on and so forth. Yeah, this was not my idea. The credits go to Yannick Rickmans. He has a great blog post about that, how this works together and how you can decode it and so on. And this leads me to my officially last slide for today, the resources. As you always know, I've written a blog post about my sample. I've contributed that sample to the PnP library. There's some official Microsoft documentation on this meeting apps API. And last not least, it's also really interesting blog post how he figured that out by Yannick Rickmans about how to circumvent the usage of the bot SDK. That's from my side.
Really cool stuff. I love the choose your own adventure option that you gave at the end too, right? Like you can get with this or you can get with that. You got two options. So very, very cool. Thank you. Okay, everybody, let's wrap up our call today. We want to show some appreciation to our demo and presenters today. Leon and Marcus, thank you both for the fantastic presentations and demos. We really appreciate the hard work there. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel. You can access that at aka.ms/m365/videos. You're better off if you subscribe. You can access all of them, and you will get that information available to you by email. We'll let you know when new videos are up. You can also follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev, at M365PNP. The next general dev call, this call you're in now, will be in November. Holy cow. November 10th at 7 a.m. The next Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework call will be 1 week from today, November 3rd at 7 a.m. Pacific. You can access all of the invites and links to the videos and direct join links for all these calls at ak.ms/m365/calls. Again, thank you everyone for the fantastic conversation. Thank you for our presenters. Keep being amazing. Go get those Hacktoberfest badges. We love all that you're doing. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a great weekend.